Hello and welcome to IAMC Radio and Podcast. Let's explore the top news headlines today, February 1st. We'll start with a couple of interesting stories out of Washington. President Trump's push for government efficiency is certainly making waves with the appointment of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead this new department. They're calling it DOGE, by the way, DOGE, like the meme. Mm-hmm. Musk has been pretty vocal about his plans to downsize the government workforce.
Right.
And it seems like he's wasting no time. Reports are indicating that his aides have locked career civil servants out of some pretty crucial computer systems at the Office of Personnel Management.
Oh, wow.
That's the OPM.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might not know what that is, but that's a pretty big deal.
It is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And especially when you consider what these systems actually contain.
Right.
You're talking about databases with incredibly sensitive personal information for millions of federal employees.
Mm-hmm.
Social security numbers, addresses, financial records.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gold mine of information.
Yeah.
It's a treasure trove of data that needs to be handled with extreme care.
For sure.
So we've got locked out employees and a potential data security nightmare.
Yeah.
What is the rationale behind all of this?
Well, the stated goal, I think, is to streamline operations and identify redundancies.
Right.
But the real issue here is the lack of transparency surrounding these actions. Mm-hmm. It's really fueling speculation, and it's raising these serious questions about cybersecurity and potential misuse of this data.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a situation that warrants close scrutiny.
I think so, for sure.
On a related note, the Justice Department is also making headlines with some significant personnel changes. They've ordered a dismissal of prosecutors who were involved in the investigation of the January 6th Capitol riot, and they're mandating a review of all FBI agents assigned to those cases.
Interesting.
So,
this move seems to be part of a larger pattern we're observing, a real systematic effort to remove individuals appointed by the previous administration and replace them with those deemed loyal to President Trump.
It's interesting because while every administration has the prerogative to assemble its own team,
of course,
the timing and targets of these dismissals raise questions about potential interference with ongoing investigations.
Right.
Particularly those as sensitive as the January 6th events.
Absolutely. It creates this perception of politicization within the Justice Department, and it really raises concerns about whether a thorough and impartial pursuit of justice can truly be maintained.
Absolutely. Now, shifting our focus to international news, we have a tragic story out of Philadelphia. A medical evacuation jet carrying 6 Mexican nationals, including a young patient and her mother, crashed shortly after takeoff.
Oh, no.
The plane was en route back to Mexico after the child received medical treatment in Philadelphia.
Okay.
The intended flight path included a refueling stop in Missouri before continuing on to Tijuana. It's just a heartbreaking situation for everyone involved, especially the family who lost loved ones. Have any details emerged about the cause of the crash?
Well, the investigation is still in its early stages.
Go ahead.
The FAA and the NTSB are both involved.
Okay.
What we know so far is that air traffic control lost contact with the jet shortly after takeoff, and the final descent was extremely rapid, suggesting a catastrophic event.
Oh, wow.
Tragic.
Yeah, very much so.
Meanwhile, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia continues to escalate with reports of airstrikes and drone attacks across various regions, resulting in 4 deaths and 10 injuries.
It's just awful.
President Zelensky is making urgent appeals for increased international support to bolster Ukraine's defenses against this ongoing Russian aggression.
It seems like this war has been going on forever.
It really has.
Yeah.
The human toll is immeasurable.
I can't even imagine.
The constant threat of these attacks creates a climate of fear and uncertainty that's just unimaginable for those of us who haven't experienced it.
It's hard to fathom.
The resilience of the Ukrainian people is remarkable.
It really is. But the need for humanitarian aid and global support is more critical now than ever.
Absolutely.
Now let's turn our attention to some other notable news items from around the world. In Nigeria, a traditional ruler in Kaduna State passed away suddenly at a public event, a stark reminder of the fragility of life.
Yeah, you just never know.
It really is.
It serves as a poignant reminder that, life can change in an instant and to appreciate each moment we have.
A sentiment I'm sure we can all relate to.
Sure.
Meanwhile, the Mexican president is taking Google to task
Oh,
for a rather peculiar change on its U.S. platform.
okay.
They've renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Wow.
This move, apparently directed by President Trump, has sparked controversy and criticism with the Mexican president, arguing that the U.S. cannot unilaterally rename a body of water shared with other countries.
That's pretty bold.
It's a strange situation, to say the least.
Yeah.
It seems almost petty on the surface.
Right.
Yet it also underscores the influence the U.S. government wields over global entities, and the symbolic importance attached to geographical names.
It's interesting.
This renaming raises questions about respecting international norms and the potential for such actions to escalate tensions between nations.
For sure.
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds and
Yeah.
whether Google will reconsider its decision in light of the backlash.
Right.
Now let's zoom in on Nigeria again, where the central bank is attempting to breathe new life into its digital currency, the eNaira,
Okay.
which hasn't gained the traction they initially hoped for.
Interesting.
They're launching a comprehensive review to identify the roadblocks to adoption and explore strategies to enhance its effectiveness.
I see.
It's interesting because the reported value of eNaira transactions has actually increased recently,
Yeah.
yet awareness and usage among the general population remain relatively low.
So it's a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
It highlights the challenge of bridging the gap
Right.
between a promising concept and widespread adoption. Successfully implementing a digital currency requires addressing issues of trust accessibility and demonstrating tangible benefits to potential users.
It's a complex undertaking,
Yeah.
but one with significant potential,
I agree.
particularly for a country like Nigeria,
Yeah.
where financial inclusion remains a challenge.
Absolutely. A well-executed digital currency could revolutionize access to financial services and empower individuals who've been traditionally excluded from the formal banking system.
And finally, we have a story that shines a light on human rights concerns in Nigeria. Amnesty International is calling for the immediate release of a Nigerian couple
Okay.
who has been detained for over 3 years by the Department of State Security, known as the DSS. They were arrested over alleged ties to the indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB, but their whereabouts are currently unknown,
Oh, no.
raising serious alarms about their safety and well-being.
Yeah.
3 years is an unconscionable amount of time to be held without any information about your loved ones.
It's terrifying.
Amnesty International is expressing grave concerns about the possibility of mistreatment
Right.
and is urging the Nigerian government to provide transparency and ensure their safe return.
Makes sense.
This case highlights the ongoing struggle for human rights and due process in Nigeria. Prolonged detentions without charge or trial
Right.
are a violation of fundamental freedoms
Absolutely.
and undermine the principles of justice.
I agree.
It's a stark reminder that even in the 21st century, the fight for basic human rights is far from over.
Unfortunately so. Yeah, it's a sobering thought, for sure.
You know, it's easy to get overwhelmed
Absolutely.
by the sheer volume of news
Okay,
and these
okay.
complex issues we've discussed today, but it's crucial to remember that every story, every individual affected matters.
Yeah, these aren't just headlines.
Right.
They represent real lives and real struggles and real consequences.
Exactly. So let's delve a bit deeper into some of these stories
Okay.
and unpack their potential implications.
Yeah.
We started with the situation at the OPM, where employees have been locked out of these vital computer systems. And while the administration cites efficiency as the driving force, the lack of transparency and potential for data breaches is it's trouble.
It's deeply troubled.
This isn't simply about access to information.
Yeah.
It's about the potential compromise of sensitive data,
Right.
belonging to individuals who've dedicated their careers to public service. These individuals deserve to have their personal information protected.
Absolutely.
And the lack of clarity surrounding Musk's intentions only amplifies those concerns.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. The Justice Department's actions also raise some red flags. Dismissing prosecutors involved in the January 6th investigation and initiating these reviews of FBI agents assigned to those cases, it really creates the appearance of interference regardless of intent.
Yeah, the timing of these moves, coupled with this broader pattern of replacing officials with those perceived as loyal to the administration.
It casts a shadow over the pursuit of justice.
It does.
It raises questions about whether a truly impartial and thorough investigation can be conducted under these circumstances.
Yeah, and speaking of impartiality, let's revisit that peculiar case of the Gulf of Mexico, now dubbed the Gulf of America, on Google's U.S. platform. While some might dismiss this as a trivial matter, it really does speak volumes about the exercise of power and disregard for international norms.
The Mexican president makes a valid point that unilaterally renaming a shared geographical feature sends a message of disrespect.
Yeah.
And it undermines Mexico's sovereignty. It sets a dangerous precedent.
It really does.
And it highlights the potential for these symbolic actions to escalate into tangible diplomatic tensions.
Oh, sure. Now let's circle back to Nigeria and their efforts to revive the eNaira digital currency.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how the reported value of transactions has increased, yet widespread adoption remains elusive.
Right. This disconnect reveals the underlying challenges of implementing a digital currency,
Right.
particularly in a nation where trust in government institutions may be fragile.
Yeah, that's a good point. Many Nigerians remain wary of digital currencies.
Right.
And access to the technology required to utilize them remains limited for a significant portion of the population.
That's true.
Overcoming these barriers requires not only addressing the technological infrastructure, but also building trust
Yeah.
and demonstrating those tangible benefits of adopting the eNaira.
Education and public awareness campaigns
Yeah.
will be crucial to demystify this concept of digital currencies and showcase their potential to empower individuals and foster financial inclusion.
The story of the detained Nigerian couple brings us back to this crucial issue of human rights. 3 years of detention without any information about their whereabouts
It's wrong.
is a blatant violation of their fundamental rights.
This case underscores that ongoing struggle for justice and due process in Nigeria. The lack of transparency surrounding their detention raises serious concerns about their safety and well-being.
Absolutely.
And it highlights the urgent need for accountability within the Nigerian justice system.
You know, these stories, diverse as they may seem,
Yeah.
share a common thread. They expose those complexities of power justice and that ongoing fight for human rights in our globalized world.
They remind us that staying informed,
Yeah,
engaging in critical dialogue, and demanding accountability from our leaders is
absolutely.
more important than ever.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the negativity,
It is.
but it's crucial to remember that each of us has a role to play
Hey, bro.
in shaping a more just and equitable future.
Absolutely. It starts with awareness,
Right.
understanding, and a commitment to holding those in power accountable for their actions.
As we navigate this ever-changing landscape of global news, let's strive to remain informed, engaged, and hopeful.
Hopeful that by shedding light on these stories and engaging in these thoughtful discussions, we can contribute to a world where justice and human dignity prevail.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, isn't it?
It really is.
The world can feel like a whirlwind of events, some inspiring, some deeply concerning.
It's true, and it's so easy to get caught up in this constant influx of news.
Yeah.
But it's crucial to engage with it thoughtfully, to discern fact from fiction, and to seek out those diverse perspectives.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that while we've covered a range of challenging topics today,
Right.
there's always another side to the story. Stories of resilience, innovation, and compassion
I agree.
that often get overshadowed.
Exactly. For every instance of injustice or hardship,
Right.
there are countless individuals and organizations working tirelessly
Right.
to make a positive impact.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
Staying informed without becoming overwhelmed by negativity.
precisely. It's about cultivating a critical lens, questioning what we see and hear,
Right.
and recognizing that even in the face of adversity,
Yeah.
the human spirit perseveres.
So as we conclude our exploration of these top news headlines, what key takeaways would you leave our listener with?
I think it's essential to remember that we are not passive observers in this global narrative. We have a voice, we have a choice, and we have a responsibility
Right.
to engage in the world around us.
And that engagement can take many forms.
Exactly.
From staying informed and supporting organizations aligned with our values
Right.
to having meaningful conversations with friends and family
Absolutely.
and advocating for change within our communities.
Every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a ripple effect, creating positive change and fostering a more just and equitable world.
Well said. Thank you for joining me today for this insightful exploration of the top news headlines for February 1st.
It's been a pleasure dissecting these stories with you,
Yeah.
shedding light on their complexities.
And to our listener, thank you for tuning in to IAMC Radio and Podcast.
We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of these events and feel empowered to navigate this ever-changing world.
Remember, knowledge is power, Truth is our compass, and hope is our guiding light.
Stay curious, stay engaged, and stay informed.
Thank you for listening to today's top news headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.